Hi gardening friends, I'm back with Tea Time Tuesday. I'm Lark and I'm in Zone 5 in Wisconsin. Ligularia, the rocket, loves wet, will tolerate sun if it gets enough moisture, so it does good in the bog. If it's in a regular garden that just gets watering, it'll droop. Even in the sun here it's drooping, but it'll come back. It's not real fond of sun. Can you see the droopy leaf there? Pretty torch-like flower, probably about 4 foot. And my ferns, ostrich ferns. And the unfurling fronds in spring are edible, and they're yummy. This was the first year I tried them. They were good. Jewelweed, a lot of it. Native, loves the bog, but it will grow in the regular garden too. You can see how aggressive it is. Usually that gets pulled. Where should we go? Let's see. We'll walk the back of the garden here so you can see the wild area. Goat's beard, going to seed. Blue angel hostas. Tamarack, huge tree. That's not even an old one. Pretty bark, isn't it? We like you, tree. Deciduous pine. Some in substance. Pretty golden, and if you have an area that isn't complete shade, it'll take some sun. It's got a thicker leaf, so it takes sun. Where some of the hostas that are gold and thin-leafed, they'll burn in the sun. Oh, let's see, what's the one I have that burns? Golden scepter. Real aggressive golden hosta if you want to fill an area. Golden scepter. But it likes complete shade. So down here, the phlox is going crazy, along with the milkweed. No, not milkweed. Goldenrod will be blooming. So this wild area butts up to my garden up by the house. And then across this path is the wetland. And I don't know, I'm just going to hold the camera up in the creek. And the ex-bog garden. But what I'm trying to do, or what I did, was I have my gardens and then I have it graduate into the wild area. So now that my regular garden is going crazy and I'm not taking care of it or maintaining it like I used to, being obsessive compulsive, now it's blending with this wild area nicer. So one day, and I hope I don't see it like this, but one day it is going to be like this. Okay? See how the grasses are growing in between? And the strong will survive. And phlox is strong. And I'm telling you, it's very hard for me to stop grooming it like I should, and control. That's what I had, was control. And I've been working very hard on control and leaving go. And I like it. I feel better, less stressed, but it still hurts to see it not as pretty, or what I think was very pretty. But it's okay. This is nature, and it's gorgeous. It really is. Okay, we'll keep walking. Oh, I showed you, I kind of scanned over the bowling ball path, and years ago you guys would have saw it. Oh, see him hiding in there? In spring you can see him more. It looked pretty at one time, lining the path, because this all was blue forget-me-nots in spring years ago. But then the costas grew and they didn't get enough light. So it changed, and that's okay. Change is good. So I'm walking and talking to you like if you were walking the garden with me. And you're kind of hearing what's on my mind. I think that phlox is David, and it does not get powdery mildew as easily. Same with Miss Lingret. I'm pulling off an aggressive, whoops, now you got it right in your face. Oh, that is a grapevine on my bridal wreath. The deer like this, the cup flower, also native. Whoa, I just got bit. Joe pie, I love the burgundy stems. So pretty. And back here on the back of the garden, and we have that grass path here, this here. You can walk up close to the tall plants, and children like that. Feels like a tree to them. Baptisia, wild indigo, getting its pods. That's from the flowers in spring were blue. So you can see how phlox is taking over back here. Now I think what I'll do, if I get myself to doing it, is there's like a daylily in here. Can you see it? I am going to weed out around it, or just put newspaper around it, cardboard, about 2 foot around it. So, and grass clippings probably to choke out whatever flower is around it or weed. And I'm going to do that with selected perennials. Now we're on the upper part of the garden. See, we were down there behind that tamarack tree. That's that tamarack way up there. Can't even see the top. It goes way up. Okay, and then that aspen next to it. That pretty white silver bark. But anyways, we're on the top part of the hosta garden. I gotta think quick so I don't talk too long, and then you don't get to see the few new plants that were blooming, or I forgot to talk about last week. Now Simicifuga Hillside Black Beauty is starting to set its flower. foliage, spiky flower, about 4 foot tall. That's what it'll be. We're on the far east side of the garden now. There's a few autumn or late summer blooming perennials in here. So I'm not without color at any one time. My stinging nettles back there that I eat. Stinging nettle. Who would ever think I'd be growing it in my garden? I would have never thought it. I used to hate getting in a patch of it. That is a sweet autumn clematis. Because I thought I was going to lose this Austrian, but it hasn't died yet. Okay, the other side. This is a nice ajuga if you're ever in the market for a ground cover, and there's different kinds of ajuga, but this one is called Caitlin's Giant. It has bigger leaves and a spikier flower, probably about 6 to 8 inches tall in spring, in a pretty blue-purple. Caitlin's Giant. Check it out if you want that. You could Google image it if you're looking for a nice dense ground cover. Asters are starting to branch out because I trimmed those. And a mullein. How patient one must have to be to pick all the mullein flowers off to make a medicinal tincture. You have to be very patient. Tons of mullein flowers to do that. Combination is pretty, and it's hiding a whole lot of junk. That perilla. I'm pleased with my window boxes and the, well, I don't know what this container was called. It was in a barn, in a milk house. A blue container, or she painted it blue. But anyways, this was an inexpensive container for me to plant up. And the color is striking with minimal effort and minimal money. I told you last week, my husband is more of a formal looking person when it comes to landscaping. He has a front yard mostly. He has globe arborvitaes. I like things more open and free and weepy and blow in the wind kind of. I think I told you wild and crazy. And we've been together for 54 years, so that's kind of cool. Opposites attract. finally the Victoria Sylvia is starting to bloom for me. Potentillas do well here, but as they get more shade, they get less pretty. Just some coleus in here this year. Dave says, aren't there any flowers in there? Well, it's a very shallow container, so I'm very limited in what I can. Oh, it's 8 inches about. If I wanted to stick some money into it, I could get a deeper system where you can plant something that maybe like cypress flowers, or that would be cool. Oh, I have to show you this. Silly, but this was my potty chair when I was little. Neither of my kids wanted it, so I planted it up. Makes my mom happy too. Just put some succulents in. So it went through myself and my 2 sisters and some of my cousins. So Liatris is blooming, and I really throw a lot of that seed around the purple, and it doesn't seem to germinate for me, and it could be because it's so dense in here. Amaranth's looking very good. Thank you for giving me color with your leaves. Plus I eat that amaranth. Black-eyed Susans are starting. And the blackberry lily. Again, there were a whole lot of them in here, but they're not in there now. Not that I see. That's my forever daffodil. Or buttercup. I think I called it buttercup. Rotates. The other side is different. The other side, for the center of the flower, I used a old spring and a beer bottle. You want to see it? I can't remember if I showed you in another video. This side is a chimney sweep brush and a stainless steel bread basket, so that won't rust. And then this is a spring from an old bed, and a wine cork from a wedding we went to, and a beer bottle. That's the pistil of the flower. My forever flowers. I think I showed you the barrel strapping one. I'll sell all those. I certainly can't take them to a retirement community. That's one of my favorites, so I have a smaller one like that. So I'll take the smaller one, I think. Fleabane, still looking good. More Liatris. Balloon flowers. White. Can you see my twigging? They were all laying down. The rain beat them down. And I usually have chicken wire around them to tell me where they are in spring, but I took all the chicken wire off because I'm trying to get ready for when we cut the garden down. We might use a brush cutter. So if I could have your feedback on using a brush cutter, and we'd rent it. Have you used it, and how well does it work? I wanted to chop it up in pieces. See, with the weed whacker, it just cuts it down, and then you have big long stalks. And I don't want that. I want it to decompose quicker. So I thought maybe a brush cutter would chop all this stuff down nicer. or smaller pieces. So the liatris and the blackberry lily and the tiger lily are my new plants this week. And just chatting, letting you know some of my feelings. Now, there's the Joe Pye we walked up behind before. Here it is in front. It's getting ready to set its flower head, but it's in part shade, so it takes longer than over on the east side. We're going west now. You saw this last week, but I look at them every day. They're pretty. This is Forget-Me-Not, and it'll be going to my niece, I think, in Florida. This one's for you, Nikki. My very first. Oops, I just got a bug bite. I also threw a lot of Queen Anne's lace around. Who would ever think that it wouldn't come up? But it needs light again. I like the white in the garden. Oh, the grass, a switchgrass. Shenandoah, I think this one is. Got a couple clumps left. Most of my other miscanthus died back. The variegated didn't last but maybe 4 years or so, and I never rebought them. Oh, thank you, dear, for not eating my tiger lilies back there. I want that data orange. There should be a whole big clump, but they got some of them. So thank you for not eating those yet. And yes, my twigging method, you know, of fencing around my peppers is working. So far the deer have not come back, or maybe they came back, but they didn't eat my peppers. Now, they walk past. This is what they're walking past in order to get to my veggie garden. Do you believe it? Do you believe it that they could resist that in these hostas? But I thank them for doing that. Told them to go someplace else. Please. My bucket method in the path here. But those nasty raccoons, I tell you, they don't care what you have around. But I can see I'm getting new growth on here, so they haven't put their little heads through here to eat yet. But my tomato, what time do I have here? Can't see. Oh, I got a little time yet. My tomato fell to the ground. Collapsed, not fell. The stem must have got too heavy, and it didn't crack or anything yet. So I'm going to put a board under those tomatoes and then just let it lie. After all, when I was a girl, my parents grew tomatoes as a vine. They didn't support them. So they're going to be laying on the ground for a while, for the rest of the season, or till I pick them. And just hope, now the vine should be okay. It's supported by the ground. Yeah, when my parents grew tomatoes, it was rows and rows of tomatoes laying on the ground. But I am having trouble with raccoon family. Must be slugs or bugs in here, and this is where they like to dig every night, and I push it back, and then I can see in the morning if they've dug some more. my cucumber going up and over. And I have 4 more cucumbers to put somewhere. So since the raccoons got in here and ate my peas, which they must have, the babies must have come in and squished through those, oh, that's about a 5-inch opening there. And they ate and dug up all my peas. So before I plant cucumbers there, I'm going to have a plan, like to put more chicken wire around. My raspberries. And more Japanese beetles. Oh, I didn't get him. Oh well, he lives. Morning glory and hyacinth bean. Nope, scarlet runner bean on here. And I'm letting them fall, so you see how they're all coming down again. I flipped them over so I have more leaf foliage down here and it's easier to pick. Where if they go up and over, they get knotted up there. And it's a little harder for me to pick. So I will guide a couple of those over to the left here so it looks pretty, and then let the rest drape down here. Raccoon got into this little wheelbarrow, so I covered it with chicken wire. And they also got into my purslane. I feel so lucky that I kept my bike and my potty chair, those 2 things. So it brings back fond memories. So take care of my gardening friends. Thank you for adding me to your daily, weekly routine of looking at the garden. I appreciate it because there's so many lovely gardens out there. And you're picking mine to come and look at as one of them. And I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. And I enjoy watching yours too. If you mention too much, oh, that bunny, darn. My beans and Japanese beetle damage, but I'm still giving beans. Okay, enough chatting. I'm gonna say goodbye. Take care. And see you next week for Tea Time Tuesday, or you can tune in to my Thursday tips and techniques if you want to find out what next week's tip is. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.